What's up, Outlaw Nation? Let's talk today about SHTF, preparedness, prepper, whatever, without rule of law, WROL. Where do you fit? What is reality and what isn't? Since 2008, I would have considered myself somebody who was very aware and starting to say, oh man, everything that we have been taught might fall apart, right? And so I wasted a lot of time on that, trying to just research and learn. And then I met a lot of people who did the same thing. And so I start looking around and I start looking at all these YouTube channels just like you do and start watching all of these preparedness channels. And then I go to Ukraine, right? And I actually see a version of SHTF. I've also been to many natural disasters. Since 2010, I've been to over 11 natural disasters that were huge disasters. And so I've got a very good perspective from multiple different angles. Now I realize I've only seen one angle, okay? So my time in Ukraine is very different than somebody who was in Iraq. Although while I was there with James Yeager, he told me they were very similar. They still are different people, different environment, different area, different war. It's very different than Afghanistan. It's very different than Mexico. It's very different than South America. It's very different than Africa, right? Everything is just a little bit different. So I also understand America, in the event that there's an issue here, will be very different than even what I saw in Ukraine. But here's what most preppers do, okay? Most of your YouTube preppers that you guys watch and you follow, and there's 400,000, a million followers, whatever, 40,000 of you are watching them every day. Now, I am not talking bad about these men and women, okay? Because I think the value they add is very good. I just think now I have a different perspective. So what I realized when I was over there was all of these people that I watched prepping, doing bug out bags, and now it's basically all a regurgitation of Dave Canterbury with a thing or two different in here or a brand or two different, and we have a bug out bag. And then we have, you know, our tactical equipment, our chest rig, our assault rig. One of the things that I found out when you're wearing this every single day is most of the crap you think you need, you don't need, and what you didn't think you needed at all, you're wearing. And I know one thing, I needed way more storage than what I had. So what's happening is you're seeing all of these guys that say, okay, based off of their logic and what they believe is gonna happen to us in America or to the world, why it is that they need to prepare with food, water, guns, ammo, bullets, band-aids, beans, right? Whatever it is that they're preparing for. Now you'll hear everybody say, well, if you prepare for just in general, or if you prepare for one thing in general, you'll be ready for most things. I agree with this. But you're going off of what they think is gonna happen, their logic on what it's gonna look like. So now you're daydreaming saying, I think this is gonna happen. If this happens, this and this and this will happen. And if that happens, this will happen. So they're daydreaming now as to what's gonna happen. And then they average it off of culture, right? Movies, TV shows, whatever, Walking Dead, you put it all in and you come up with your own version of SHTF or WROL and you put it all inside this box and then you start preparing around that. Does it make you wrong? No, because doing something's better than doing nothing. But I thought to myself while I was over there, a lot of the stuff that I learned over here from YouTubers or from what I thought was gonna happen didn't happen like that at all. So let's start from the beginning. We always think in America right now, we see the big cities, we don't like them, and as conservatives, preppers, you know, 2A people, we're starting to move out of the cities. And we're saying we need to get into the country. Well, what I noticed over there is that the people in the country all came back to the city. Now, did they all come? No, but in the vast majority they did. Why? Because when you have a force that's bent to do evil on you, which in almost all situations in America, that would happen, right? Even if it was the neighboring town of marauders, the people who are in the country are the very easiest targets. And you're like, wait, no, I won't be. Listen, I was there. I just spent a month and a half over there and I saw it in person. I promise you're an easy target. Anytime that there's a group of 4 guys, one guy that wants to watch you with binoculars, you're screwed. Like, you're done. Any guy that can shoot 300 meters, you're done. There's nothing that you can do. You lose, okay? So what I noticed was all of the people that were the lone wolves or the lone families, they all came to the city. There were very few people that lived in Kiev. That's where I was. Very few people that were from Kiev. Most of them were from the rest of the state and they came to Kiev. Why? Because the things we don't think about. We had a guy there that was from California that had been in Ukraine back and forth for a long time, retired pilot. Excellent guy, called him Grandpa. Grandpa had a van that he drove us around in. He did medical work, he did evacuations. He hooked up the washer and the dry, we didn't have a dryer, but he hooked up the clothesline so that we could dry stuff. He did all the electrical work. He did any problems that we had day to day that don't go to waste. They happen in America still too. He took care of those for us. And what's funny is you think, like, in our mind, it's all tactical, it's all gun stuff. It's like, how fast are we gonna shoot this guy? And we're gonna be in a war all day. No, it's really not like that. It's like 99% just live, maybe 1% try to fight for your life. We focused on the 1% fight for your life and forgot about the 99% live. Well, it takes people. There was a group of, I don't know, probably 30-ish people that were cooking for us every day. 7 days a week, they didn't get a day off. Like, they took no days off. They weren't fighting, they weren't arguing, but there was about 30 of them for us and cooking every single day and taking donations for food to cook for us every day. There were medical staff that did nothing but full-time medical, because you'd be surprised, you start adding people, all of the little things that were wrong. Gosh, I was sick for 2 weeks and I got the whole group sick. I got sick on the way over there. Well, we had, the medical people working on us all the time. If you get a splinter, you get a blister, they're working on you all of the time, usually with just common cold stuff. We've been preparing for bullet holes. You didn't need bullet holes. You needed to prepare for common cold. And then the other thing you needed to prepare for was secondary frag. This building blew up and it gave you a concussion. This building blew up and it got, shrapnel all over everybody. One of the guys we were there with, when we went into one of our new buildings, he opened the door. He heard a grenade fall. He turned around and ran. The grenade blew up and it peppered him all up his side. None of that was a gunshot. All of that took very different medicine or medical abilities than an actual, like, through and through gunshot or a tourniquet. And so there was just so much more that had to happen. And the thing that I noticed was people came together. So it wasn't like my family and my couple of friends stayed out here in the boonies. Because when you get 30, 40 people over there, the Russians they'd be over with, not even in a day, in like 30 minutes. They don't exist anymore, right? You're here, 30 minutes later, you don't exist when somebody's trying to attack you. That's just how it works. Now, when somebody's trying to attack a city that has 24-hour security 7 days a week, there is no days off, there is no timeout, there is no breaks. It just looks so much different than what Americans that we've seen said it looks like. It seems to be right now that the American prepper movement is move out to the country, get 10, 15 people that are, on your side and a part of your community, and you guys start raising a bunch of animals. Well, what happens like when let's just use this for example, Russia circles around on Bucha, the people from Bucha run. They circle around on Irpin, people from Irpin run, right? Kharkiv, people move from there. Mariupol, people move from there. So the thought is that you're never going to move even after you're set. That's foolish. Being able to say, well, I have all these farm animals, that's like, really? Like, you can't move those farm animals. We didn't need the farm animals. We needed other food, but we needed so much of it, and we were in so many different areas, and they had to bring us food. That was a big problem. So all of the food that you're storing up, you need 200 people. Is it enough? No. Am I saying don't have food? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it just looks so much different than what I thought, to where I almost think a lot of things I did were a waste. One thing that I noticed all of those people did is they all wished they had military training. They all did. To a woman, man, child, old people, young people, it didn't matter. The one thing that they always wished is that they had training. All of them wished they would have been trained to fight with a gun and trained to do medical. All of them. None of them said, I want to be a mechanic. None of them said, I want to be a carpenter. None of them said, I want to store food or be a farmer or plant stuff. They all said, I wish I would have learned how to shoot a gun and fight with a gun. In America, you really have that opportunity. And I know you think that you can do it on your own, but you really can't. You really do need to go to a class, because the instructor needs to make sure the little things that you're doing wrong. I'll give you a great example of that, Chris Costa. Chris Costa is one of the most advanced shooters I've ever seen. He didn't have a lot of stuff to correct, but there were some things that when we were at Tactical Response that they did that they were like, hey, Chris, you could have done this better. And he paused, He thought about it. He said, you're right. And then he fixed it. That's how you become better on your own. Well, the problem is you guys, everybody that has a gun thinks they can fight with a gun. That's just not true. I mean, I saw it firsthand. And the one thing that they all wish they would have had was gun training and then medical training. And they wish they would have had their fighting equipment. That in a general is what they wish they would have had. Nobody ever said, I wish I would have, prepped more or had more little trinkets or a better fire starter or a better knife. I mean, literally, they didn't care about any of that stuff. What was crazy, I didn't care either. Same thing on gear. I remember when I picked up an HS Precision sniper rifle and I was zeroing it for them. It had an old loopholed scope on it, Mark IV. In America, I'd be like, I don't even want to see that scope. Over there, I didn't care how clear it was. I didn't care what the reticle was. I didn't care how heavy it was. It didn't matter. It's like all of the things that mattered over here because we're free, there's no stress, we're drama-free, we're trauma-free. We're just kind of like, I want the very best or I want what I want. I didn't hear any of that complaining over there. Just they were glad to be able to have it. And so was I, right? I didn't care. Was it an AK? Was it it didn't matter. Equipment didn't matter as much. Everybody wanted the training. And so I know I've been kind of rambling on here. I'm sorry. It's just kind of one of those things that I'd like for you to understand. You needed to be there to see it in your own eyes. It was like nothing that I had been told from American preppers. Like everybody came together. Everybody came to the biggest city. So it reminds me of Dallas because I live in Texas. It'd be like, oh, I thought I needed to live out in the boondocks. Oh no, you have people trying to kill you? Screw that, I'm going to Dallas. They can't get into Dallas when there's a big ring of people there keeping them out. And then you have enough that you can rotate people. And then, this was another one that was really good. On the way over there, I was like, I don't know who I can trust, right? I knew I could trust Nate. I knew I could trust James. Nobody else could I trust. At the end of the trip, I trusted everybody that bunked with me. I didn't trust other Ukrainians. I didn't trust Russians. I didn't trust the police. I didn't trust anybody except for the guys that were dorming and rooming with me. And what was funny is I come from a world of fighting where if you fought with me, I knew that I could trust you. And so it was very hard for me to take somebody else in, especially at my age. Over there, I took them all in because I knew they were all there with it together with me. So I said that to say this. If any kind of a WROL, SHTF rule hits you, whoever you get together with, you're going to be surprised how fast you trust them. Not whether you like them, but because you both are mutually trying to live against an enemy, you become really close, really fast, and you trust them with your life, and they trust you. I think that's something that we missed in America because we don't trust anybody anymore. It's like, I don't want to trust this guy. I don't want to trust this guy. I'm going to cut this guy out. This guy said this wrong. This guy didn't, he doesn't like my favorite YouTuber. He likes this other YouTuber, so I'm not dealing with him anymore. When it actually happens, none of that matters anymore. And nobody cared who had the most food or the most guns or anything like that. People just came together and didn't matter where they stood politically or religious-wise or any of that, or what color they were, nothing. They didn't care about any of that. They just came together. I think the movement of preppers now is get out and try to get in little bitty groups, but I think the reality that we might actually see is everybody comes together, and even the people that weren't prepped at all, you're still coming together with them because now you guys have a common goal of living through this. All right, Outlaws, so I said a lot right there. It was just a discussion. I just wanted to kick it out with you guys to just say this is what I saw versus what I believed. And it changed a lot of things for me. It changed how I view things. It changed what I'm afraid of. It changed how I prepare for things. It just changed a lot. And we can go down that rabbit hole if it's something you're interested in. You guys let me know. But in the meantime, like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications. I appreciate you guys. Check us out on Patreon. Hey, put your comments in here. I want to know what you thought you were prepping for and how it's changed now that you've seen the Ukrainian war. And maybe it hasn't changed at all. Maybe it's scared you more. I can tell you I'm less afraid. I had a lot of people tell me, hey, I was watching your videos and you were making it like it wasn't a big deal to be over there. And I'm like, yeah, it was a big deal all of the time. I could have died at any moment. I totally understand that. But it was like all of the stress to get in there and the fear, and then it all kind of came off, and then you realized, live or die, I still got to live out my day. And I don't know how to explain that further. Maybe I'll try on Patreon. But anyway, guys, love you, appreciate you. Outlaw Nation, y'all are the best. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, comment. Put the comments in the bottom. Tell me what you think. Outlaw out.